2 minutes until showtime. Minutes until showtime. Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
Serving the nation at blogtalkradio.com. This is Locks of the Week Radio.
Coast to coast, internet sports talk. Locks of the Week.
Doc Rivers continues to time and time again not get it when it comes to getting. Oh! Let him play!
Yeah, everybody have a show today. Snow today, show today, show tomorrow.
I don't know if you want that on your credit card bill. You know, saying the W network on it. I'm just like,
Your dad could put it there and be like, Dave, you have something to tell me?
that's the story that they still.
It's unbelievable!
You have your LeBron in the fillet. It's like, do you really care about the James Jones at the end of the bench and the potatoes?
Maybe the board, the MikeFrancisco.com, was just ahead of its time.
Pioneers.
Exactly, yeah.
Pioneers, if you will. Yeah.
We listen to this guy sit at a desk picking his teeth every day and all the dumb stuff he does. But it's not like we're changing the dial. We like Mike. You know, we hate Mike. We love Mike. All that back and forth.
Bingo.
Unbelievable.
San Antonio Spurs, Dave. What do they say about them?
They're boring. They're
boring!
From Los Angeles, this is Dave in the City. Brought to you by Locks of the Week Radio. Now, here's Dave Medina.
Good evening, sports fans, and a pleasure to have you here for the big Wednesday show, our first of a couple of first show with an in-studio guest that we've had here on the program. I'm Dave Medina, and as you can see right back over here, this is our friend, Coach Andrew Jacobson. Coach is with us tonight. Let's see if the microphone's working. How's it going tonight, buddy?
Did we even do a mic test? This is how serious you are to have me on the show tonight. How is it? Does it sound all right?
Sounds pretty good. I can hear you fine. Hopefully you guys can hear him fine across America.
I can hear me.
Good. I'm glad you can hear you. That's solid. You got to hear
You put me in the
yourself.
corner here, Dave. Over by the trash
By
can.
the trash can and the microwave. This is how we'll...
Do you need something microwaved?
We're fine.
I can get you some popcorn if you want, Dave.
Nah, I'm good.
Might clean some dishes during the show.
Yeah, we've got some refreshments here. Got some water.
I have my cup. I'm doing it to
That's
hide
pretty
my-
good.
my screen so people can't look what I'm looking at.
But at any rate, tonight we are gathered here as we lead into our usual, picks of the week and also the random questions at the top of next hour with Kevin on the Cape. But we start tonight with a great matchup although two teams that haven't been playing great leading up to this point. But in all essence, it is the biggest matchup in the Pac-12 to date for the South Division. And the reason is because two teams that have been highly touted to win the Pac-12, UCLA and Arizona State, are meeting each other tomorrow night on Fox Sports 1. Late on Fox Sports 1, 7 o'clock our time, which is 10 Eastern, and we just talked about this one before coming to air. It's just like, that's a late time to start a game.
I'll give you $10 if you can name what the TV station number is on Fox Sports 1 on our thing.
It's like it's 219 over here, right, on DirecTV?
I think so.
Yeah.
That's a good call.
219, 220, yeah.
Somebody had a funny tweet. Was it last weekend or something like that? There was like a game on like the SEC network or something. They said like 10 minutes before the game started, they had a post. They said, I'll give you, the game is about to start in 10 minutes. I'll tell you now that you should start looking for it on your TV. Because nobody knows what channels these are yet.
I'm sure that applies to like SEC network. There's so many
SEC, Fox Sports.
So many
I don't know what the Big Ten network channel is.
Yeah.
CBS Sports Network.
CBS Sports is 217?
Something like that.
Or is it 222?
These are only channels like you tune to during college football season. Like when else would you watch the Big Ten Network? Did you watch the Big Ten Network at all during non-college football?
Yeah, basketball.
Did you really? You watched basketball on the Big Ten Network?
I may have seen, well, maybe not this year, but I did once. No, I mean, like sometimes there will be a game. No, I think sometimes there will be a game on, but
all these sports channels. Yeah. There's just no clue like where these are.
Well,
most people don't.
It's tough, but it's easier on DirecTV anyway because they're all together. Like, you know, if it's not there in one spot, it's pretty close.
The SEC network isn't though. It's like 611 or something.
But that's like, there's like two groups. There's like the 200 group and the
600 group.
Yeah. It's like 60 something.
You definitely want to be in the 200 group.
Yeah, the 200 group is easier.
Somewhere above NBC Sports. Once you start going to NBC Sports, you start really going down the line. Although, did you know Fox Sports is covering the baseball playoffs this year?
Yeah, I knew.
Fox Sports 1.
I knew that. It's the first. I don't know how much of it they're going to cover.
All these old people that still watch baseball are just going to be flabbergasted when they're trying to find these baseball games and they can't find them anywhere. You know? All these 60-year-old guys.
That's the fault that MLB. Yeah, we'll get to that later. I don't know why we're talking about baseball right now. I mean,
I just like to do anything to throw you off topic as fast as I can on the show.
You're quite good at that. Well, on Fox Sports 1, UCLA, Arizona State. It's a big matchup, and it's a big test for a backup quarterback, Mike Bercovici. And he had been with the school about 33 months, trying to get his chance, and Taylor Kelly busted up his foot, I believe, last week, or no, 2 weeks ago against Colorado, and he's going to miss a month. He's going to miss a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time.
That's a long time, so this is pretty much a shot. And it's just funny, like right out of the gate, his first chance is the biggest game of the season for Arizona State so far at Tempe. I mean, the Bruins are no tough out, although both teams have played kind of shakily to start the year. So here we are with a big matchup. And we thought this when the season started. This is going to pretty much be the decisive game, which should determine who wins that division, at least in the regular season.
You think so?
I think so, because who else is going to? I mean, SC would be the only other challenger in the South.
SC, yeah.
Yeah.
Arizona. You throw a few more Hail Marys.
That's actually an interesting point. Arizona is really off to a good start.
And
they're 4-0. I knew Solomon. I was actually looking forward to watching him play. And he's got a really good arm. That isn't, you should definitely look up for Arizona. It's a good one.
Well, I mean, I don't think Arizona's really going to be a player in the South in the end. Right. I think USC could still be.
They haven't lost a Pac-12 game.
Right. Remember the BC loss was a non-Pac-12 game. Yeah. So they beat Stanford already. They don't play Oregon, whereas UCLA has to still play Oregon.
Right.
Arizona State doesn't play Oregon. So, and the South actually, with Arizona playing pretty well so far, Utah.
Yeah, Utah, you can't count them out either.
Utah, all of a sudden.
They play great at home, too.
They play great at home. They have great special teams. You've seen their fat kicker? He's awesome.
I've heard good things.
And, and then Colorado is a little improved. Colorado's the team that Arizona State played
Absolutely.
in the last game.
I like Colorado. I think they're on the up and up too. I mean,
well, they're
improving.
They're improving. I mean, you have
they're
to.
not gonna be great,
You got to go by
but-
Colorado standards and how they've been recently, because I think
I mean-
Colorado did get blown out by Colorado State in the first game of the
Right.
year, and then
But that's an improving team too. Colorado State.
I
Actually.
think they barely beat Massachusetts Amherst or something like that.
UMass.
Yeah.
But UMass is, UMass is not the UMass of old that actually have a little bit of talent on that team nowadays. So
Yeah.
not that bad. It's actually not that bad as it turns out.
By the way, they have the brightest track field I've ever seen in my life. It's just, I was there last year.
Yeah.
The thing basically glows. It's insane.
Well, what color is it? Like green?
It's a bright green.
Really?
It's just bright green. It's
Oh, nice.
the track, the infield, not the track itself, the infield part. But yeah, big game tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. It's Fox Sports 1, so
Right.
nobody will see it. But we know what channel it is, so we'll see it. So we'll be able to watch Dave. And it should be good. It'll be interesting to see. You've got Bercovici, whatever this however you pronounce this. That's actually a good thing for Arizona State. Like 33 years.
That's 3 years.
He's been there a while.
And he knows, so he should know the playbook.
He knows the
Yeah.
offense. He knows the system. You know, he doesn't have the running ability that Taylor has, but he can still, throw it. And he
Right.
knows the offense. He knows the system, and he's been there for a while. And the coaches know him, so they know what he's good at. Both these teams had a bye week last week. Both teams didn't play, so he's had extra time to get ready, get prepared for this game. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes out and plays pretty well and ends up being, pretty tough for UCLA. UCLA is only a 4-point favorite in this game tomorrow.
Right. It's going to be even if both teams were healthy, this was going to be a pretty close matchup. And so it's interesting with the backup quarterback. UCLA did not move that many more points up in the line. So
Well, yeah, and I mean, keep in mind these teams. The last 3 times they've played, the combined difference in the score has been 8 points.
right. Last year they won 38-33.
Something like that. It was really
yeah.
close, like 5 points last
Not
year. It's
much.
like 2 points the year before. They played, these two teams, last 3 games, have played extremely close football games.
Do you remember the game at Arizona State? I think 2 seasons ago.
It's crazy.
That was a crazy game.
And UCLA won
Yeah.
at the end. Yeah,
Right at the end. That
right
was
at the end.
Very
Yeah.
exciting. It really does find, Bercovici, by the way, in terms of what he can do on the field, he's really good at throwing the ball. He has a strong arm. The only thing is he is more prone to the interception than Taylor Kelly is. But here's the thing. Arizona State's had one turnover. I looked this up. I saw only one turnover for Arizona State so far. But they were against some fairly easy competition. Colorado was probably the best of the 3.
Yeah, they played Weber State or something
Weber
like
State,
that. And
they
then
went
they
and played
played,
New Mexico at New Mexico.
and now then
and
they
then
played Colorado.
At Colorado, but still.
So this is really the first big test for them. UCLA, meanwhile, if you think of the teams UCLA has played, they beat Texas in the last game, which I actually thought was a really good win for them because Hundley got hurt
Yeah.
early in that fall game. So then you have Neuheisel come in.
Not the coach, his son.
Jerry.
Jerry Neuheisel.
And, anytime you can win a football game in college football with your backup quarterback when it's an unexpected start, like it's different from Arizona State tomorrow knowing like they've had 10 days to prepare their backup for this game. UCLA, like all of a sudden, like we're throwing you out there middle of the first quarter, like go do some stuff, dude. And he's a completely different quarterback than Hundley. He doesn't have the running ability, so the offense kind of completely changes. And it was an ugly game, We're kind of watching that the other night. Yeah, it was an ugly game, which you got to win those when your quarterback goes down. I thought that was actually a very good win for UCLA. What are those that you think maybe that gets them going a little bit? Because it's been a slow start. What are they? Memphis? They barely
played. They started with Virginia, and we're starting to find out a little bit about.
Virginia's better than people thought.
Better than people had. Yeah, exactly. They're better.
The Virginia loss is looking a lot better now.
Yeah.
Because Virginia played pretty well against BYU last week, held their own for a little bit, beat Louisville.
Yes. That's
So
a big win.
Virginia, you look at the first game of the year, and UCLA goes in there and they barely win, and everybody's like, "Oh, I don't know." And now you kind of look at it and say, "Well, you know what? Virginia was isn't that bad.
Their defense is pretty good. They can really get the people on the passer. I mean, the pass rush is really.
They got some guys that potential NFL capability there on the D line.
I'm seeing it. We'll see how it goes the rest of the year, though.
So I think Hundley will play tomorrow.
Yep.
I think Hundley plays. And that, I think with tomorrow will be an interesting test for UCLA. Because UCLA,
definitely.
it's a prime time, well,
the big game.
midnight game if you're on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Prime time if you're out here on the West Coast.
Right.
It's a prime time game. It's an opportunity for UCLA to finally do what you thought that they would do this year, which is be this explosive, really good football team. We haven't really seen it. The Virginia game, like you said, Then was the Memphis game, which was crazy. I was in Hawaii.
Did you see that game at all?
I did not. I was in Hawaii, and
I missed it too.
I was in Hawaii, and I'm checking my phone, and it's like, oh, UCLA's up by 7, but it's early. And then, you look later, it's like UCLA's up by 7, and it's almost the end of the game. I was like, oh my gosh, But it was completely different problems. Like the first game, it was like the defense won the game for them. The offense looked terrible.
Right.
The second game, the offense looks great, but then the defense looks terrible. And then the last game was just, they lose their quarterback. The defense still looked pretty good, but it's Texas,
Right.
So, and we know Texas isn't very good. So
that's interesting. We'll get into that in a minute, but yeah, I mean that even if Texas is not that good, it's a game you still it's tough to win.
Well, it was a road game.
Basically, it was a road game.
It was in Texas at Cowboy Stadium. There were more Texas fans there, so it was basically a road game. And like I said, their quarterback goes out really early in the game. So if you can win that, then I think you're good. So tomorrow it's going to be interesting because I think Arizona State's looking for a little bit more respect. They want to be a contender in this. They feel like, hey, we won the Pac-12 South last year. We don't care about USC and UCLA.
They're going to have to play a cleaner game, though. They still commit a lot of penalties.
Well, the defense is still a big question mark.
Yeah.
They gave up 545 yards to Colorado.
Not that impressive.
No, that's terrible. In
No.
fact, statistically, Colorado beat Arizona State in a lot of categories. The only category they didn't was Colorado had 3 turnovers. Arizona State didn't have any.
Yeah.
If Colorado doesn't have those 3 turnovers, that probably ends up being a game down the wire and one Arizona State could lose because Colorado
They really did.
had a lot more yards than Arizona State did. They
were moving the ball. I saw that the second half of that game.
So, I mean, that's where if Hundley's in there, really realistically, this Arizona State defense is not really still that good. So, if Hundley's in there, they should be able to move the ball and do some things.
I would agree with that, but I'm wondering if Arizona State would do the same thing because it's going to be different this year now without Kelly, but last year they were kind of having their way offensively with UCLA.
They were. That was a surprise last year. That was one of those games. I remember watching that game. I was at a restaurant keeping an eye on it.
I was at the restaurant keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, but
were we at the same restaurant?
No, I was at an Enterprise.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I may have been somewhere else.
I think it was on a date. And I mean, that was a surprising result last year. I thought UCLA had that one in the bag, and I thought UCLA was looking good for that Pac-12 South game or Pac-12 South win,
Right.
but they didn't get it. So they're going to have a little bit of a revenge on their mind. I mean, it should be a good game tomorrow. I think Arizona State could end up moving the ball, and I think their backup quarterback who's playing tomorrow, I think he's going to play well.
Yeah,
I think that
all the experience, as we both were talking about, I mean, it's going to definitely count for something. The real quick key for me is will they be able to limit turnovers as they've done so far this season? That's going to be a big factor. I will see if they can hang on to the ball.
Well, I mean, Arizona State, it's the weird thing about college football right now. Because ultimately in college football, all of college football, we don't really know anything about any of these teams. For most of them.
It is really early. And most of these games have been against non-conference opponents.
Exactly. It's kind of like you look at Arizona State, and it's kind of like, okay, they're ranked 15 in the country, but they really haven't played anybody. This is really their first real competition. They're now really starting to go through some Pac-12 games. The next month is when you really start to find out things about these college football teams. Like some teams we know. We know that Michigan sucks. Like
I knew that before the season started.
That's an obvious. We know the Big Ten is really bad.
It's bad.
We know that, Oklahoma's really good. You know, there's certain teams where you can start
You were big
saying.
on them, though. I remember you weren't big on Oklahoma, and so let's.
I picked Oklahoma to win the Big 12 this year.
Did you? Okay.
I did.
Okay. So
I
maybe,
said Baylor and Oklahoma were the two teams I said I liked.
All right. You did pick. Okay, very well. But definitely there were people out there that were not big on Oklahoma.
Well, I think people had questions about their quarterback, right?
I think that's what it is.
Because
they didn't have much of a sample size, so it's not like they were wrong to think this.
No, I think it was good. I was really impressed. I watched that Virginia game, Oklahoma Virginia, the other night. Really impressed with that game with Oklahoma. And keep in mind, you know, I think Oklahoma right now is the best college football team in the country. Alabama's up there too. Alabama and Oklahoma played West Virginia. They both played West Virginia. Alabama on a neutral field.
Right.
Didn't struggle versus West Virginia, but it
struggled a little.
It was a close game. It was a close game. Oklahoma goes into West Virginia on the road at night, and in the second half they just leveled them. They dominated that second half. Much more impressive over a common opponent. That's partly for me why I look and I think Alabama's really, really good. I mean, Alabama had 600 yards of offense the other day. The only reason that Florida game was close because they had 4 boneheaded turnovers. Outside of that game would have been a blowout right from the get-go.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, Florida just looks so hopeless, don't they?
Florida is hopeless. It's not that they look hopeless; they are hopeless.
I mean, they can't move the ball to save their lives.
Yeah, a lot of people said after the Kentucky win, like, I don't know, Kentucky's better. Now you kind of look at it and say, well, no, probably Florida's really that bad.
They're just not good.
They're really that bad.
People were getting in it. Well, not everybody, a lot of people, but some people were thinking like Florida could make some noise, and I didn't see it. I never saw it. I mean, because they didn't do anything about quarterback. He's miserable.
He's a nightmare. And even in the game the other day, you can tell like the coaches didn't even trust him. Like right before halftime, they had the ball. They could have tried and do something, and they simplified so much. Well, it was just right before half. Like, okay, we're going to throw our quarterback out there. Let's try and see if we can maybe get a score before half. And they didn't do that. They just ran the clock down, and then we're going to go to halftime down 7. Like, they were totally willing to do that. Where a lot of teams, if you have a good quarterback and you know you have a good quarterback, and you're going to try and put a few points on the board before halftime. They didn't even try. I think that says a lot.
Such a boot, but anyway. Anyway, let's going back to Bama. Yes, I think they are a very solid contender. As we look ahead a little.
Them and Texas A&M, I think, have been the 2 best teams in the SEC so far. But even Texas A&M, like,
you're not sure because they're not really.
Like they really went on the road and they killed South Carolina. You're like, wow, that was an incredible win. And then you see South Carolina go and really struggle against Vanderbilt last week.
Yes.
And you start thinking
they didn't look good against Vanderbilt, but they did beat Georgia.
They did, but it was at home and it was close. And Georgia could have easily won that football game at the end.
They had their chances.
Much better play calling there at the goal line than what they did. And that's the problem with college football right now. Like, we're trying to judge these teams based on like, well, Alabama played West Virginia, and then Oklahoma played West Virginia, and well, they played well, and they didn't. Like, it's just hard right now to figure out what we know about these teams or not, and because it's really we haven't gotten into the meat of it. Like the next month, we really get into the meat of it. Team like Texas A&M, like we're gonna find out what Texas A&M is over the next 4 weeks because they play Arkansas this weekend. I think they play Alabama in a few weeks. They play.
It's a tough schedule.
I forget what they got, but their next 4 games are all against the ranked teams. Mississippi State, I think, is one of those teams in there. Ole Miss is going to play Alabama here very soon, so we're going to find out about Ole Miss.
We're going to see that they're going to get exposed.
Probably.
Their defense isn't that good.
Probably, yeah. Probably. I mean, that's probably what's going to happen. But right now, it's like weird, like ranking these teams, and like Arizona State 15, UCLA is 11. They're probably really not.
We really need another month.
You need another month. It's just hard to figure out this early in the season what we have with some of these teams. You know?
Yes. Now let's evaluate then who our front runners are for the 4 playoff spots right now in college football. You know, LSU could have been on that list, but then Mississippi State was ridiculous. Like
LSU's gone.
Unforgivable. No, they're totally gone. They're a young team anyway, but they were.
Yeah, to
be that bad at home.
I don't think.
Home too.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was really thinking LSU was going to really be a playoff contender. I think everybody looks at Alabama and Auburn as better. Now people are starting to really look at Mississippi State. I think the LSU thing is weird because they can't throw the football.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you get a team like Mississippi State who's pretty good against the run. All of a sudden, you make them a one-dimensional team. What are you going to do? And then that defense was just really surprising because usually LSU always has a pretty good defense, and they just were. Mississippi State ran up.
That
and
is
down the
what
field.
basically surprised me more than anything. How bad they were defensively against Mississippi State. This is not that great of a quarterbacking team.
But even though it's weird because
Really.
LSU's not going to be in the Final Four. It's highly unlikely.
Let's not waste any more time.
But what's interesting about LSU is they're going to have a big say in who is going to be in the Final Four because they're still going to play Alabama, and they're going to play well against Alabama.
Right.
You just know they're going to play well against Alabama.
Always.
They always do.
Yeah.
They're going to play Auburn. So they're going to play some of these teams. So even though they're technically out of it, it's one of those things that they're going to have a big say in who gets there in the end.
That's true.
And it's LSU. I mean, they can, like I said, I fully expect that Alabama game is going to be a close one because it just always seems like it is, and I think that's what it's going to be.
I don't see a reason for that to go differently right now. Speaking of Auburn, they really they did not look really, they really didn't have much control of that game at Kansas State. They still won, but Kansas State, let's be fair, I think they outplayed Auburn in that game at Camp Manhattan.
You could say that. Kansas State made a lot of big mistakes, had turnover in the end zone that cost them points, missed field goals. Yeah. Their defense played really well. Auburn, I don't know. Auburn's, again, one of those teams I'm not sure we really know about yet. I mean, that was a hard game for Auburn because it's like they go on the road, and it's almost like a no-win situation for them. Like you go in there, it's a Thursday night game. You lose the game, that really puts you above. You're maybe out of the championship at that point. Not really, but it's going to make it really difficult. You go in and win it like they did and win ugly, and then nobody gives you credit for it. Everybody says, well, you kind of looked bad. You didn't look like Auburn last year. If you go in and you win by a whole lot, then everybody goes, well, that's what you're supposed to do. You're Auburn. You're supposed to be a championship. So it's like a no-win situation. I always feel bad for teams when they get kind of put in that situation where it's like, no matter the outcome, there's no way I'm looking better. I can only look worse,
Right. But you still got to give credit for them scheduling a game like that.
I do.
Good game to schedule. Strength of schedule is strong there.
From an SEC team to get a ranked opponent
rare.
on the road,
The SEC.
out of conference, that's a very kind of rare thing. Alabama will do it, but it's always a neutral site game,
I didn't realize.
And it's usually
you're actually right.
And it's usually always in Atlanta.
It usually is like Atlanta or New Orleans or something.
Yeah.
Or Dallas or something like that.
Yeah, somewhere.
That's a good point. I never thought about that before.
Somewhere down south.
Do they ever? I remember the first college football game I ever saw in my lifetime. Bama, then ranked number 3, went to UCLA at the Rose Bowl for the season opener. And I think that's the last time they did that.
No, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, it was a great game, too.
Was Stalling still the coach then?
I think
he probably
may
was.
have been, and UCLA pulled the
Was that
upset.
during the Mike Shula era?
No, it was pre-Mike Shula, I think.
Because, every time Alabama plays a non-conference game, they played West Virginia, I think.
That's a really good point. I never thought of that.
Didn't they play Michigan a few years ago, but that was at a neutral site game? Like, they don't go on the road and play a team. Like, they're not going to go to Virginia Tech, or they're not going to go to, Michigan, or they're not going to go to Wisconsin and play. It's going to be a neutral site game.
That is a fantastic point. SEC teams are so afraid to travel. It's so funny. Like, they only travel for the biggest of the big games, bowl games, basically.
Yeah.
Like, the only time I've ever seen an SEC team on the West Coast, you'll see it like maybe once a year. Like, I've seen Georgia do it, which is great. That's good for them, but I'm glad they did that.
Yeah, I mean, I would actually like if there's 5 big conferences.
Right.
I would like if the 5 big conferences kind of did what they do in basketball, where they do kind of like a round robin thing where they the ACC plays the Big Ten or something. Like, have some of the teams. You can't obviously match all of them because there's not the same number of teams in each conference. But it would be kind of cool if they did some kind of thing like that where, like, this year the SEC is going to play the Pac-12. And you have, 3 or 4 of those games. And then, the ACC is going to play the Big Ten, which nobody would watch. But if it happened. But so you could still have it. And, that would be interesting, if they just played, 3 or 4 games, just conference versus conference. I think that would be kind of cool if the conferences would get together and do that. It's never going to happen, but it would be awesome if it did.
That would be great. So we have about a minute left. So we are two teams we did not cover in that grouping. We did cover Oklahoma, Alabama, Auburn. I do think Oklahoma. You're right. Oklahoma is the most consistent team right now.
Oregon. So what you're going to bring up?
Yeah, Oregon.
Yeah,
So
I like them. Best team in the
do you
Pac-12.
think you might be right,
I am right.
but do you think that they are still going to have problems when they inevitably run into that great physical team later in the year?
Well, remember, they already played one really good physical team,
Pretty
Michigan
much.
State, which I still really like Michigan State.
Pretty much.
I actually thought that was a good loss for Michigan State. I still think they're in the national championship hunt.
I mean, they're alive, definitely alive.
Oregon will win every game at home fairly easily, I think.
Right.
Their problem is going to be the road games, like Washington State.
Yeah,
The road games
good
for
call.
them can get a little dicey, but even the Washington State game, like they were still in control of that game most of the way. Washington State got a little robbed there at the end. But I still very much like Oregon. I still think they're the best team in the Pac-12.
Do you think they could get that spot, though? Do you think they'll have enough? Do you think they will avoid that loss on the road or the Pac-12 championship loss?
I think a Pac-12
It's really-
champion can still lose one game.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
As long as
I mean, I think UCLA is guaranteed to lose at least one game.
yeah, I would say UCLA
I'm
right.
thinking two.
Right now, UCLA would just be happy to, I think, to lose one game.
I know.
The way they've played so far, but we'll see tomorrow.
Right.
Uh,
Okay.
But I like Oregon. I think Oregon might lose one game,
Right.
but as long as they get to the Pac-12 championship game, win that, I think they're going to be in the playoff, and I think they will.
I think they'll be solid for that.
I don't think USC or
They are
UCLA will beat them on a neutral field.
I think it's also in part because Stanford just doesn't look that hot anymore to me.
No, Stanford doesn't.
They
I
really
mean,
look limited offensively.
Stanford plays Washington this week.
Yeah.
It's I mean, it's not a.
Expect juice.
It's not. I mean, Stanford definitely after that USC game took a big hit because they even though statistically they moved the ball, they got it up and down. They obviously have problems in the red zone. They had just a lot of weird stuff in the game, penalties, turnovers, things like that, which I don't think they'll do all the time. But
Right.
I just don't think they're as good as they have been the last 2 or 3 years.
Okay. This like 10 seconds on Florida State. How much longer do you think they'll go? And I say that because they haven't really looked as dominant as they used to be.
Yeah, but they're going in the meat of the ACC right now, and the ACC they might have played the best teams that they're going to face almost all year.
Maybe a decent point.
The only game I see where they could maybe be challenged a little bit, I think it's at home if I remember correctly, at Florida State, is Notre Dame.
Wow.
Outside of that, they've probably already played their toughest games this year.
Cool. All right, that wraps it up. So that's our full college football and UCLA preview.
That's it?
That's it for now.
All right, I'm going to go over here and do some dishes.
Thanks, man. Andrew, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
All right, Dave.
All right, take care of yourself. Well, that's it for now. We'll take a break and we'll get into our predictions for this weekend's action. Stay with us, everybody. We'll be right back. This is Dave in the city. back at it here in the city at 7:32, and that means it's time for the Kids Club football picks. This week is week 3. No, this week's week 4, excuse me. And after 3 weeks, here are our season standings. In first place after a 3-1 week, John in Connecticut, 7-5. And after a really wild week in the NCAA and a couple other crazy finishes in college in the NFL, you had a pretty good moment if you could get there about above 500 or right at 500. So second place in our season standings is Say Hello to Ottis in a tie with John at 7-5. The tiebreaker goes to John due to the fact that he won one previous week in addition to this week. So Otis is in second place, John in first, Ron in third at 6-6, and Andy in Seattle still holding strong, 5-7, but only a couple games behind the leaders. And for the week, 2 people went 3-1, one went 2-2, and one went 1-3. Nobody went 0-4. That's important. So now, with a phone such as they are, we will now introduce our panelists. Let's start. Okay, here we go. So we start with the man who comes from the Pacific Northwest, home of the defending Super Bowl champions. He is, of course, Andy in Seattle. Andy, welcome to the program. How's it going tonight?
Hi, Dave. How are you? What's your record? Are you keeping track of your record too? Are you in the standing mix?
Yeah, I'm miserable. Let me go look it up. It was like 2-8 or something like that. No, like 3 let me look it up. I'll look it up. But something like it was off to a horrible start because I think I was like 0 in my first week. But I did okay after it, and I kind of pull up my Francesa where I do a lot of picks some weeks and I do only like 1 another week. I'm 2-8. Yeah, I'm 2-8. 2-8, Andy. You can't. Oh,
that's all right. It's only September. You have a lot of time left, and you're trying your hardest. That's all you can ask for. You know what's funny? When Mike does go to the well and basically takes the entire card and all the anti-Mike, why are you taking every game? Oh my God, he's taking every game. Oh, he's taking every game. He's trying to bet his record. The flip side to that is he could bomb. So instead of he goes 0-3 week 1 and takes 9 games week 2 and goes 1-8 in that span, the anti-Mikes can go, he takes every card, he takes every game, and he still lost. So he can't win in that spot because he does that to try to make up for his shitty week the week before. But it's not like there's still risk involved. He still can make his record even worse than what it previously was. But, we have people complaining when Mike says the instead of the, and that'll never change.
Quite right, Andrew. Good stuff. And as I was saying, like, this weekend was a really tough weekend to pick games. Like, you could not predict most of these college point spreads. Like, how would you pick a winner in some of these? It was really tough. And I think, in all honesty, everybody in the Kids Club did a great job. Because, like, it would have been really easy to go 0-4. I got to give you guys all propers for doing that. I mean, did you feel like it was a really unpredictable week from the college pigskin standpoint?
Well, Dave, I actually had a difficult time picking NFL. So Saturday morning we were rising early like a phoenix, RD style.
Right.
We started the day really well with Colorado and Alabama and who else was playing at that time? We rose really early on Saturday. It was just one of those days, I guess. And I'm trying to look. Oh yeah, we rode with Eastern Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi State, and then we bunked on South Carolina, and then things started to go off the rails Saturday night with Oregon and Boise State. But Boise State was a win. San Diego State was a loss. But the losses, Oregon State, South Carolina, those are for multi-unit. So we ended up breaking even on Saturday. So college, we were a little disappointed because the day started out
well, and we gave it all back. Sunday was bad. Sunday was too many 10 a.m. games. That's, John Wood, also known as Checker on a Checker, he basically became my gambling sage. Maybe 4 years ago, I was reckless, like Tom Kiernan, taking every game, losing double nothing, just chasing. And then John Wood basically subscribes that tomorrow's another. Don't try to recoup your losses on one or two bets, and just take a steady wins to the race. But I did not. Just was not very disciplined on Sunday. I thought there were a lot of games that were juicy, and I ended up taking 6 games that started at 10 a.m. or 1 o'clock in the Eastern time zone that only matters, the real time zone, at 10 a.m. out here. And 6 games is a little too much for one schedule.
Right.
4, I should have tapered it down to 4, and because witching hour is just it's a tornado of emotions if you have 6 games, let alone 4 games. And went 2 and 4, and then the afternoon game just went with Seattle and got lucky there with the overtime, even though it really shouldn't have gone that far. But it did. That's sports. And then I got really congratulations to your Steelers. I thought Cam Newton and playing at home against a average Steeler team would have gotten the job done. And then so I went 3 units there, and then Monday night took the Jets. I'm not taking the Jets anytime soon. Where's Ottis?
Let's get Oatman on the telephone, and very good recap there, Andy. So let's bring Oatman to the show tonight.
Pretty good. I can't defend the Jets at all, so I'll let Andy speak for everybody with that. That was not pretty.
Yep, another tough night for Geno Smith. But what can you do? That's sports, as Andy's just said. First of all, can you guys hear me? Am I sounding underwater today, or am I normal this time?
You sound a hell of a lot better than you did week 1.
Okay, good. Yeah. Very happy to hear that.
You're on the 6 feet below sea level, but everything sounds good today.
Good deal. So, how are you? What's new with the Oatman? Everything. Was it similar, your experience in Saturday and Sunday overall, the way that things were going?
Yeah. Well, before you introduced me, I was just sitting back here, had a nice candle vigil going for Derek Jeter's career. I know that everyone is really, really, really gonna miss him, and I just felt the need to, have a moment, eat prayer for Derek's life and all the good he's done. Oh wait, he's not dying. He's just stopping playing. So okay, that's settled. But yeah, no. In the football world, I had the opposite scenario. Sandy, Saturday, and my college football picks outside of your program have not been too keen. But luckily, we were able to make up for it in the NFL, and had a nice week with this little contest that we do here. Nice little 3-1 week.
Yep, 3-1. That's
Hopefully
right.
Hopefully we can keep that going. I swept my NFL picks there, and we had a couple other good ones until the Jets laid an egg on Monday. But and also I must apologize deeply to our New York Giant fan listeners, because we completely dismissed them last week, both Ron and myself. Although we didn't pick against them on the program, we
did
both
not.
made it clear. We both made it clear that was our intention. So for everyone who's screaming, Otis hates the Giants, Otis has a handshake agreement with the refs and with Collingsworth. No, I don't. I apologize to you all. I don't hate the Giants. Well, maybe a little bit, but I I just wanted to let everyone know that I'm deeply sad and that I doubted the mighty New York Giants and Eli Manning.
Too good. All right. Well, with all that on the table, let's begin week 4 of the Kids Club podcast picks. We'll start with John's picks, which he sent to me via text today. He will not be in the mix due to some clownsmanship by the part of the airlines. Here we are. So his college picks are the following: Duke +7 at Miami, and Indiana -4.5 against Maryland. That's a juicy game because I'm not really sold on Indiana myself, but Maryland. But you know what? They did get a pretty good win against a really good win. I think that was one of your picks, right? Oh man, the one against Mizzou. That surprised me. I was surprised. Were you surprised by that game?
I was, because I had Mizzou, so that was my one loss. So yep.
Yep.
Big surprise on my end.
It was a day of surprises, certainly. But we can go from that and see if you can build on your 3-1 record from last week. Let's hear your 2 college picks for.
Yeah, those were good picks from John there. I'm always pleasantly happy when I hear him take a team that I like. It kind of reaffirms that I might be onto something, because John definitely knows. He definitely knows those, I guess not lesser conferences, but not the big ones. He's more of a college football guy than I am, but he knows many more teams than I do. I normally stick to kind of so that I was happy to hear that I'm not on Mars, at least for one pick. So turning back to my picks, again, they're both in the top 25, top 10, top 5 of teams this year, and 2 favorites. The first one I really like is, and it's a big number, it's Baylor. They're laying 21.5 is what I have against Iowa State in Iowa. That Baylor is just tremendous. I watch them week after week because I get a little degenerate in me when Baylor plays. Baylor in the first half has been a bet that I've been following since last year. It hits more often than not. The first half Baylor bet. I see a good amount of their games, and that offense is just absolutely ridiculous. They move the ball, and as if it wasn't ridiculous enough, they're getting some guys healthy after an off week last week. Their top receiver for last year has been out. He's due back, and I know they're getting run back. So it's a big number, but like I said, that offense has just been putting up points. Iowa State has not been impressive this year. I know Kansas State, they had a close game with them, but their other games, they leave a lot to be imagined. So I'm gonna take Baylor, take that offense, and I'm gonna lay the big number there. So my first pick would be Baylor -21.5 on the road in Iowa.
All right, and that's a big number, but Baylor has certainly covered spreads like that before. I'm going to give you half a point, though, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes. But we'll get that down to 21. And so usually that means someone else has the pick, and that would be correct. But I'll tell you more about that in a minute. Let's get your second pick.
Sure. Hopefully whoever has that game is on my side. Otherwise, I'll be interested to see that. Anyway, the second pick is also a big number. You were talking about this a little while ago with Coach this team. And let me just say, I know that you call him Coach, but I didn't realize he was actually Mike Pettin, the head coach of Cleveland.
Oh, yeah, I do see a resemblance.
He was sitting a little bit away from the camera, but that was the first thing that popped into my head when I saw him.
That's good stuff.
But anyway, yeah, you guys talked about this team a little bit. I know you said you're unimpressed with them so far this season, as most people have been.
Mm-hmm.
I just think coming off of last week, kind of an emotional win in not really a likely scenario with last year's Heisman winner sitting on the bench. I'm going to take Florida State playing 19, another big number, against NC State. I like the idea of Florida having a big emotional comeback after last week. Winston's a clown. Everyone knows it. The suspension for yelling, I don't know if that makes sense. Who knows? Who might play Captain No Fun or Captain this or Captain that? I just think that they're due for just a big number this week. NC State, 4-0. If you look at the teams they beat, I don't know if half of them are in the same conference as Monmouth, but Presbyterian, Georgia Southern, Old Dominion, not exactly Kings of Kings.
Right.
South Florida's in the mix too, but yeah, not really state the number 19 and
luck to the State plus 21 in that same game, so you two will be going head to head on that one.
Now I'm officially worried. It worries me.
And just quickly, let me just get this out of the way. He goes checker on a checker with John, and he'll go Duke plus 7 at Miami, plus 7. So that leaves us Andy's two college picks. So, Mr. Andrew, as you set up another pumpkin spice latte, I'm interested to hear your college picks of the week.
It's actually too early. I'm not gonna do the pumpkin until the calendar is showing October.
Oh, okay.
But, that's just me being a Mongo.
It's a little bit. I mean,
but anyway, LOL Hibbert. LOL Hibbert. We have a triple checker on a checker with Duke.
Nice.
Duke is going to be a family game, and in the hypothetical world, we might make it a quadruple when it, just a non-documented podcast pick where it counts in make-believe gambling world. We're going to take Duke plus 7. Duke was a really good team last year. They've got a decent offense, evidenced by that bowl game on New Year's Eve with Johnny Manziel. That quarterback's pretty good. I think he's like 16-2 as a starter there. They're still basically relatively under the radar. I think they still got a chip on their shoulder. It's Duke, pigskin. They're not known for pigskin, and even after last year's surprising season, they're still not really making a noise from a media or expert or Mongo standpoint. And Miami's just a mess. Their quarterback situation, they really don't have a real quarterback. I think his name's Kaka, but it was supposed to be Greg Olson's brother. Greg Olson, the tight end, has been in the league forever. He's a meathead. His brother's a meathead. His dad must have been a real meathead, too. DNA, genes, the whole bit. Anyway, Olson, the Olson that was supposed to be quarterback for Miami, he's just an entitled, I can't swear, but he's an entitled just meat stick. He got arrested already for, a drinking and driving scenario. We don't judge. That happens, but, strike 2, I think he failed a drug test, or it might have been vice versa. Either way, if you get a Dewey and then fail a drug test, or if you fail a drug test and then get a Dewey, you're just a clown. Just use your noodle. I'm all for hall passes and second chances, but you've got the keys to a nice position to be king, quarterback at the University of Miami, and you foobar it like that, get bent. And besides that, they look like doo-doo in the second team this year, which is their coach. I like him. I mean, he did a good job at Temple. He earned that. It's definitely an upgrade going from Temple to Miami, but I mean, he's basically his hands are tied, with these personnel issues. So you're getting 7 points.
I think Duke has a very good chance to win this game outright and basically establish themselves as a very good candidate in that ACC conference that we all like to point out for its mediocre talent from basically besides Florida State, of course. But I don't think the conference is very good. But Duke, if they can take care of business and pull somewhat of an upset against Miami, then they've got, I think, Georgia Tech next week, and Georgia Tech's 4-0 too. So there'll be a lot of the next 2 weeks for Duke will basically dictate what they end up doing in the conference. So game number one, heading 7 from Miami. Game number 2, we will go to the Pac-12. This is a team that basically two-barred. I think it was 28-6 lead at one point, losing in a Hail Mary in the desert in Arizona. We're going to take Cal, bounce back scenario, minus 14 against a atrocious Colorado team. Now, we took Colorado last week in Boulder. They were only giving 9 points to a hapless, or actually, won by a half point, a hapless playing their first road game after 3 in Hawaii, and they X 3-0 against the spread, although that second game against Oregon State was a gift from the gambling god. And so I figure when they go to the mainland, I'm going to bet against them. So we took Colorado. Colorado's a bad team. They barely beat University of Massachusetts. They are a program that once was king, but they are really bad. This year in and year out, you look at their standings, it's all like 3-9, 4-8, 2-10. A bad time in Boulder for their pigskin. In California, listen, last year I think they went 1-11, but I love Sonny Dykes. I like what he did at San Jose State, and obviously what he did at San Jose State got him the promotion to the Big Cal job. And he has a quarterback. His last name starts with a G. I forget his last name. I think it's Goff or Groff or something like that. Yeah, and he's prolific. And offense is Sonny Dykes' name. And Colorado is they're just not a very good team. So I think when all said and done, Cal will have a comfy W in Berkeley. So give me Cal minus 14 for number 2.
Jared Goff impressed me quite a bit from week number 1 when he had that game, and he really tore up Northwestern.
Against Northwestern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that really showed 2 things. Cal might be on the way back, and they really look relevant again. It also showed that Northwestern is finished. I mean, those guys look like they look kind of hopeless lately. So, anyway, good picks.
It's a shame about Northwestern. Sorry to hijack, but I know Checker and Benson were both super high on their coach, Fitzgerald. And, well, for whatever reason, after the 2012 season, they had big expectations last year, and it's just kind of fallen flat for them.
It has, and maybe I always go back to that Ohio State game last year where Carlos Hyde just completely ripped them apart in the second half, and it just sometimes a spotlight can kind of really show whether teams will take it to another level or what. But it's too bad. I agree with you. I mean, it would have been a really great story if they had been able to build on that, but we'll see. Okay, so now to the pro picks in our Kids Club podcast picks. We'll start with John's picks, leader of the pack so far through this season. He selects the Panthers to bounce back plus 3.5 against the Ravens, and he selects the Vikings plus 3 against the Atlanta Falcons. That's an interesting pick because the Falcons have been playing pretty well, but maybe there's a potential for a letdown game after what was it 56-14? What was it 58-14 against Tampa Bay? Crazy game last Thursday.
They scored 14? I thought they scored 7. I don't know. Lovey Smith.
Oh man, you got. Did they get that extra touchdown? I mean, they definitely scored at least. You're right. They scored 7. Maybe they didn't score 14.
Yeah, they. I'm pretty sure they put up 14. I think they had a pick 6 in the mix also. Oh, good. Tampa.
Big finger gets a little bit back. All right, so those are his picks. Quickly on Ron's picks, he selects. Oh, he's going head to head with John. -3 Falcons, the Vikings. So Two head to -7.5 against the Titans, who again cannot score to save their lives because Jake Locker is always good for an interception or two. So those are Ron's picks, Falcons and Colts. John has the Panthers and the Vikings. And now we go to the Oat Man to try to take the lead in this contest with two NFL picks. Let's hear him.
Well, first, that Falcons Vikings is an interesting pick, too, because Teddy Bridgewater making his debut there in Minnesota, starting debut. So I know that line kind of caught my eye for a second, too, just for that, with the new quarterback there. Since I'm trying to climb and chase after John, I'm going to have to change one of my picks here. I don't want to check on a checker with him with the Panthers. So I had a back here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the Packers laying 1.5 against the Chicago Bears. After the Chicago Bears on Monday night try to give away that game to the Jets. Their defense injuries in the backfield. They do have one stud corner. Kid's name starts with a V from Virginia Tech. I can't remember, Vollmer, something like that.
Ottis doesn't know the names.
He can only guard one of the Packers' 7 receivers, and who knows if he can stay with Jordy Nelson. No one seems to be able to do that. I think the Packers' offense should finally hit their stride here. Would expect Eddie Lacy to get on track too. So I'm going to take the Packers there, -1.5 in Chicago. Use Checker's team against him as I try and chase after him a little bit here. For my second pick, we are going to continue my trend, which has been to get our fellow friends angry with me, and I am going to go to Sunday night and pick against Tony Romo in a primetime game on Sunday night. The Dallas Cowboys always find ways to make fools of themselves in prime time, and with the New Orleans Saints coming in, Drew Brees, all those receivers, Drew Brees is an ass clown. We know. But with all those receivers, the Cowboys cannot cover them. They have somehow had smoke and mirrors, whatever it is. They defense so far this year, but they also have Rob Ryan will not be he can come up with some stops. So I'm going to take the New Orleans Saints laying 3 to complete all four favorites that I'm taking this week. Saints laying 3 in Dallas, world against Cowboys.
Oh, man, Packers -1.5. Seattle to give us his NFL picks of the week. Andy, take it away.
Can we say checker on a checker?
Tony Romo is a clown, and he invents ways to just foobar games, and their defense has a lot to be desired. Tony Romo is very flashy, but when it comes to results, there's a lot to be desired with him. So, game number 2, I'm not trying to be mean, but I still think the Jets was the right thing, but their quarterback is
Doritos guy for like 2 years after I found out what Doritos were and realized and then I became a Doritos guy and went from 190 to 290 in 2 years. So my parents obviously were doing the right thing at the time.
Oh yeah, no, those things are no joke. I mean, it's so easy to eat too.
Yeah, left my own devices. I was having a bag of Doritos and ballooned like 50 pounds.
Anybody else in your shoes would have done the same thing, though. Those things are very deceptively filling. There's a bag of Doritos right across from me. I haven't touched it all week because I know it adds like 15 pounds to your weight. Oh my! But it's crazy.
And they get your hands all weird, and there's that artificial orange stuff on there that's just not human.
No, it's true. That's true. The orange residue, it's just so bizarre. And yeah, you can't really completely get it off until you wash your hands. Like you dry. It's
right. And then you're done eating them, and for some reason you don't think that there's anything wrong with that. You feel like crap. Your hands are orange. Your face is orange. Yet for some reason they've convinced you that that's okay. When on no other time, it's not okay. Your hands shouldn't. When you eat a meal or you eat a snack, your hands shouldn't turn colors.
No, and it's like your hand got marinated and grilled, and it didn't. It just it ate Doritos. That's it. I mean, just nuts. And I'm paused because I'm just thinking about all the times that I've gotten grease in my hands. You can't grip things right. You ever try playing Nintendo with Doritos?
Yeah. Or you kind of wake up in a food coma and you're like, oh, there's a Dorito left. But that's really your pinky finger, and you just chew on it.
And there's no way around it. You can't eat with a fork. You can't eat with a napkin. It's just you have to go in and get dirty.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, I mean, it would be weird. I guess you could wear gloves, but that would be even. Your life is taking a severe turn for the helpless if you're eating things with gloves.
Yeah.
I guess unless you're allergic.
I've eaten.
And then again, if you think that if you go to the extent of wearing gloves to eat Doritos because you don't want to hurt your hands and don't realize what it's doing to your insides, you're probably just too far gone for help.
Man, and those stuff again, like we were saying, Doritos are definitely serious food right there. That's they're no joke. I mean, you get carried away with that stuff and all sorts of bad things could happen to you. And the hands are just the beginning. It's just the start of a whole lot of issues you end up having with Doritos. If you ate Doritos every day, 3 meals a day, you'd be dead. You'd be gone in 2 years. You're being generous too. But Doritos are awesome. I mean, when you eat them, they are great. You just take the hit whenever you get a chance to have some Doritos. I eat Doritos probably 5 times a year, and most of them are at parties, right? Do you eat them anymore? Do you still eat them once in a while, when you're out somewhere?
Not when I'm out somewhere. I don't really eat when I'm out anywhere. But there is this one deli that I go to every few months. It's out of the way from where I live. Or else I'd go there more often because it's really good. But they have the really tiny bags. I don't know if you've seen them. They're 50 cents.
I have seen the tiny bags.
There's probably 4. There's 4 chips in the bag.
I've seen these, yeah.
So when I saw that, I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly what I need. You can just get your little fix. It's probably 6 ounces of Doritos, and then you have your sandwich and move on, and you've had your Doritos, and you don't have to have them for the 4 months. So I have had them, a few months ago, but won't buy anything larger than that bag that they have at that deli.
Yeah, I got. I've seen them sell variety pack, little tiny bags, and you can share them on trips, and that's always an interesting thought. It would have to be variety packs because I can't otherwise justify having 11, like 30 of those tiny bags of chips when you're on a trip. It's like sometimes you want more than just like 3 chips, and you're like you eat one and you're like I need more chips, and then you get another one and you get another one, and it's just like. It's crazy. Although it packages Fritos pretty well because Fritos are so small, and you can stuff a bunch of them in a little space. So the little tiny pouch of Fritos is pretty good. But that is pretty much the serving size that you should eat, and like nobody does. But you're right. That's like the right size. Like that. If whatever the like on a serve like when you buy something at the store, and you bring it home and the label says serving size is such and such. And that tiny bag is the serving size. Like that's that's how many chips you're supposed to eat. Like
right.
Yeah.
Right, and then you look to the other column and it says servings per this container 94.
Yes, exactly. I've done time and time again.
You're trying to do the math on your hands, and you're like, oh, I can't even multiply that much. I'm going to bed.
Cookies is the worst one. Like you get a whole package of Oreos, like 3 rows of Oreos, and you're like you could easily eat like a whole row, and it's like serving size 3 cookies. It's like you're
oh yeah.
You're honestly so you ultimately end up eating. Let's see, so that's 75 calories a piece. Yeah, you end up eating like 7,000 calories worth of cookies without even trying. You just eat them like popcorn, and you're just watching a movie, and it's just like you didn't even realize that you just gulped down like 2 days worth of food in calories with those Oreos.
You look at that first column, you're like, oh, 225 calories. I don't have to go to the gym tomorrow. And then you actually wake up, and like, oh no, wait, that was times 26. So
On
I can't go to the gym now. I can't move.
Oh man, food coma is deadly too. Not related, but yeah, it's deadly. Deadly. You do not want that. Yeah, that's like over you. It's like your body does a mini OD, but with regular food instead of drugs. And ooh, crazy. All right, so Kev, now you said what month was it? August or September was really a brutal month for you at work. Which one was it? Was it August?
No, they're both brutal. They're just different.
Oh, okay. Well, it's almost over. I mean, we're getting into October, where I imagine things are going to slow down considerably. Things are already getting cool on the East Coast, and they're sort of cooling down here out west too. It wasn't even close to being it was not even close to being as hot as it was a week ago. So good news there. But it's the fall, and I love the fall. It should be fun. It'll be a good time of the year. I mentioned the baseball. Yeah, that retirement ceremony, that retirement tour, we shall not speak of. But other than that, the teams that are playing baseball do pretty well. The A's are probably going to wipe themselves right out of the playoffs. So they will probably get the wild card, but man, they don't look good. And it's kind of funny, like the Red Sox are totally out of it. They're not even close to being in this thing. So I can't imagine what New England's pulse of baseball right now is without the Red Sox.
They wrapped up their 69th win of the year tonight, Dave.
Oh my, 69? Really?
Yeah.
They didn't even get to
69.
Oh, that is bad.
They've got 4 games left. They'll hit 70 maybe.
Oh my goodness. It took them this long to get to 70. They're not even there yet. They'll probably get 70th though. I don't think they'll finish at 69. I've never seen the Red Sox that bad. I've seen I mean, there was a year in 2000 when they were terrible, but I don't remember them being that bad. Boy, that is. They made the World Series. No, they won the World Series last year. But they also replaced a lot of their guys. So there is that. So I guess they're not that. There's no reason to feel bad for them. No, they did, right? It just doesn't. You can't even believe it because it feels so different. But they did. A year ago at this time, they were about to enter the playoffs, and they ran into the World Series, and they beat the Cardinals in 6 games. And there was one game in that series where
think about the 3 years they've had, Dave. You had the Bobby V debacle.
Right.
Then they won 1 series, and now they barely win 70 games. That's very strange.
It is very strange. But the team this year, the team today, compared to what they were a year ago, is completely different. Completely different. And they have Yoenis Cespedes now. And I can't speak to how well he's playing in Boston, but he is a great player. A great 5-tool player. So he is good. And I think next year, this team, and yeah, they don't have Lester anymore, but this team, I think this team is going to end up being good again. Like, I think they're going to make it right back to the division title. They'll probably make it to the playoffs, and after that, who knows? But I think this team's going to be way better, and this is just a stepping stone towards that. Don't you think so? I mean, they did make some interesting trades. I feel like they will be younger, and they will be better hitting as we get into 2015.
The lineup is probably going to be fine. They have no pitching, Dave. They have really good young pitchers. When you read the Baseball America and that stuff, and some guys that they called up this month, but I don't think that they're ready to be like top of the rotation guys. Their pitching is in trouble. Their lineup at 1 through 7 is probably going to be really good next year. But I don't know. I was thinking about this today. I was thinking about the Mets and their young pitchers, and they're very similar staffs, but the National League versus American League, I'd almost think that the Mets are almost in better shape, as ridiculous as that may sound.
Mets look pretty good. Well, I mean, on the strength of pitching, absolutely. Because I think they'll have Matt Harvey back. They'll be looking good next year. A lot of reason to be excited about the Mets if you're a Mets fan. A lot going for them. Can I ask, but that's next year. Let's talk about this year, too.
Yes.
Postseason. As I mentioned, it's totally like an 80s Palooza with all these teams I remember growing up, going back into the playoffs. It's great. I don't know if the Royals will make it in. Let's hope they do. You have the Royals and the Pirates, and that pretty much means the longest playoff droughts in baseball history will be eliminated. That's fantastic, and it's a long time coming for the Royals. This would have been their 29 years now since their last postseason appearance, a World Series win against the Cardinals. And I don't know if you were around for it, but Don Deckinger's call in Game 6, to this day, one of the worst calls in sports history, but it resulted in a Royals World Series win at the end of the day. So there they are, back in the playoffs. It should be an interesting sight, and the Cardinals are just as good as in 2. So, do you feel a little nostalgic here? I mean, this is pretty keen. Like a lot of teams, again, like I said, like these are all the teams I remember when I was a kid. So it's just funny, like to see.
I feel pretty keen, pretty nostalgic when you use a word like keen. I haven't heard that one in about 30 years either.
Well, good deal. So out of this pile of teams that is either in the playoffs or about to enter the playoffs, which teams do you like? Like who's standing out to you? I know you may not have seen all the games. I haven't even seen all the games. Like I'm not super familiar with everybody myself. But from what you know, which teams do you like a lot in this postseason?
You're not predicting an all California World Series? I thought that's where you were going to go.
It's quite liable. You know, the Angels really do go into the postseason with a head of steam. My only problem is I don't like their rotation that much. C.J. Wilson, pretty good, but
Whose rotation do you like, though? That's kind of where.
Whose rotation?
right now.
The rotation I like the most. I know I'm being a homer, but my team's rotation. Once they get Ryu back, that's the best rotation in baseball. Don't you think so? I mean, for postseason.
Well, have the best pitcher, obviously.
Oh yes. Oh yes, Clayton
You
Kershaw.
start with that.
Oh, so good.
But it's pretty, it's pretty even. There's not those like few years in the past, where like Verlander was amazing, or the Yankees had those guys, and the Red Sox with their guys, or Carpenter in St. Louis. I don't know. It seems like it's outside of Kershaw. It's who else would you really seriously bet your house on?
No, I would do this with Zach Greinke too. I think people overlook him a lot. He has pitched great this year. He's got an under 3 ERA. It's like 2.8. I saw him last night. I was at the game. I was at the Dodger game last night against the Giants, and he pitched 8 innings. He had good control of his pitches, really hit his spots in the strike zone, really wasn't behind the count a whole lot during the night, and there wasn't even a batter that really went to second base after that home run by Madison Bumgarner, of all people, in that first inning. Was it the first inning? No, it may have been the second inning. But after that, it was solid. He went 8 innings in a game that where they needed it, and all they had to do was give it to Jansen at the end for that 9th inning, and he finished the deal. So I really like. I think that's the thing. Zach Greinke doesn't get the cred, but I think he's just as good as a lot of guys in baseball. Ryu is a third starter. On some teams, he could be a second starter. He's got great stuff. He's got a good fastball, and he can really wipe people away if he's healthy. He's not healthy, but if he does get healthy and get back in the rotation, 1 through 3, that's pretty good. Like, I would take in any game, I would take any of those 3 over whoever the other team has. Strasburg, Verlander, Price, any of those guys. I could take him. I will take my chances with any of the Dodgers 3 over those guys. And I mean, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I think that they've been pitching very well the whole year. I haven't really seen anybody slip. Maybe I know Ryu would once here and there, but often it was related to the fact that he was hurt. But when healthy, all 3 of these guys are just incredible. I think they do a very good job. So maybe I'm biased, but I think so. But I will say this. Let's just assume that Ryu's not in the picture. Yes, it's pretty even. Because like you said, even if Kershaw's going up against another team's number 1, he's going to be the decisive favorite in that game, but not by a lot. It doesn't mean that he's not overpowering the other starter. It means the game's going to be really good. And I think it's really up to the team's bullpens and the team's lineups to really make it happen at the end. So, to your point, I think the Dodgers are definitely the favorite to win the National League, at least. And I would say that, who's going to be that team in the American League, though? Do you know? I don't follow it as close as you do. Who do you think the American League favorite is right now? Angels? What do you think?
Before we hop over to Leafs, will Don Mattingly poop his pants at some point in the playoffs?
See, why is everybody dumping on Don Mattingly? Everybody says, he's so bad, he can't do this, he can't.
I'm asking the question.
All right, fine. No, he's not. Maybe.
Okay, good.
But I don't think he will. I mean, ultimately, it's up to whether the guys can deliver. And the Dodger bullpen is pretty bad. It's actually really bad. In fact, it's impossibly bad. It's a terrible bullpen. No bones about it. But the one guy that would you rather have a really bad bullpen with a great closer, or would you rather have a pretty good bullpen with a so-so closer? I guess that's a tougher question, but I think when really pressed for a decision, I would still take the mediocre to bad bullpen that had a great closer, and I think Kent Jansen is that. So I will take my chances with it.
Yeah, I think that question, like most things in baseball, kind of your answer may differ when it comes from the regular season to the postseason. But I think you're right in the postseason. Is what you were saying before. I think Greinke and Kershaw are going to pitch deep into games. So just going from them to the closer, is probably a much bigger asset than some other teams that may have, a couple of good arms in the bullpen, and not a great closer. So they'll be in games, but when it comes down to the end, who knows?
I think as far as I'm concerned, this team right here in 2014 is the best Dodgers team I've seen as long as I've been following the team. Now, I haven't been following the team as long as a lot of people, in the sense that I didn't start watching the team regularly till like the year 2000, so that's 14 years ago. But even going back further than that, I mean, I've seen teams with Piazza, I've seen teams with Eric Karros and 4 Rookie of the Years in a row, but those teams never really had the same pitching. They didn't really have consistent pitching. They didn't have consistent defense. There were holes. This team has everything except the bullpen. That's really it. You've even got a bench. Justin Turner's a great utility player. He's been playing great all year, and he was good even when he was with the Mets. So there's always a good chance that he was going to play well, and he's even exceeded those expectations. He had 2 home runs last night in that game, and I could see him doing something good, something very good in this year's postseason. You get guys like Miguel Rojas, very good defensively, and Drew Gutierrez, maybe not a good hitter, but he's good to spot. Like, he's good enough to spot A.J. Ellis once in a while. That lineup, I mean, you have to get to the 7th spot in the order before you get a batter that you can really have your way with, like definitively have your way with. That's as good a lineup as I've seen in my lifetime. I mean, like, for a team that I root for, that's really good. I mean, you're talking like the Indians lineup and then these guys. Like, these guys are maybe I'm overrating them a little, but seriously, I like what I see. I mean, when they're all rolling, they're all healthy. They'll do very well. I know that they were struggling. For about a month there in August. But when everybody's on, and I mean, look at the stats. I mean, just about everybody on there hitting 280 and above. Gonzalez is hitting 270, but he is the leader in RBIs for the National League. So any way you slice it, this is a good team. I mean, doesn't mean they're going to win. That doesn't even mean they're going to get out of the first round. But for me, this is the best Dodger team I've seen as an adult. It's not even close. Like, the Manny Ramirez teams, he was great, but there were, half the lineup probably wasn't that spectacular, or they're still coming into their own. And their rotation, their best guy was Derek Lowe. So, no. This team, a lot of things going for it. So, forgive my enthusiasm, Junkie, as I just go into every guy in the 5-man, but seriously, I've really enjoyed following this team, even if I can't watch most of the games.
Yeah, you're throwing out a lot of Dodger knowledge, a lot of Dodger history there. I'm still fixated on trying to figure out who the 4 rookies of the year in a row were.
Oh, yeah. It may have even been more than that. It was Piazza. They had Eric Karros. Yeah.
Mike
They had
Piazza,
Raul Mondesi.
Hideo Nomo.
Raul Mondesi.
Hideo Nomo rookie of the year?
Hideo Nomo. And I think
Raul Mondesi was a rookie of the year?
Yeah, if you look it up, I think it was 94.
Wow.
I will look that up just to make sure.
That one I wouldn't know. My wild card was gonna be like Darren Dreifert. Somebody who had like one good year and then got hurt.
That's an interesting call, though. I mean, Darren Driver did have, he was a phenom and all that. Then he got hurt, and 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 then he got hurt again. So, the year. Yeah, it was pretty impressive. I mean, that was really a run. I mean, it's something you're probably not going to see again for a long time. Now, it stands to reason that the guys who won that award. Oh, okay. I was of. I was almost there. 4 Rookies of the Year in a row. No, I'm sorry. That is right. I had it right. It's just that Karros came first. So it's Karros, Piazza, Mondesi in 94, Hideo Nomo in 95. And if that wasn't enough, Todd Hollandsworth won in 96. So
Nice.
Yeah.
I knew there was some weird guy.
Yeah, I remember that. You know, he's weird looking dude too, like kind of tall. Yeah, I mean, clearly he didn't do anything close to his rookie season from that point forward. But but you know, that was at the time really a tribute to the farm system of the Dodgers. It was really good in those days, finding stars. I mean, Mondi was a star for a couple years there. And Nomo had a no-hitter in his first season, or maybe his second season. It was at Coors Field. That's anyway. You know, that's just fun. That's fun to think about. So, that's 5, I believe. Yeah, 5 from 92 to 96. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 5 consecutive Rookies of the Year. I'm not really sure if that's going to get matched again. But that's can you name me the latter? This
Of a lot of young guys are the Nationals.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good guess. I'll tell you why. Tampa Bay had 2 Rookies of the Year in 3 years, so that's pretty close. Jeremy, I don't even recognize the guy. Jeremy Hellickson, are you familiar with him? I remember the name.
Yeah, he's still there.
All right. Well, no, I mean it's only like 3 years ago, so yeah. So he is still there. Okay. And Will Myers, that's from last year. Will Myers.
And I think even they had Longoria and David Price and probably contenders and those things.
Yeah, Longoria's on there, 2008. Price did not show up on that list. Interesting. But I'm sure there were probably other like hitters that overtook that. That's pretty good. Well, anyway, the answer to the question, from what I'm looking here in MLB, were Bobby Crosby and Houston Street, 04 and 05.
Nice.
Yeah. Street was a real deal. Crosby, maybe not so much, but I remember that was like the peak of the Moneyball era, I remember. So those A's, how about that?
Yeah, how about those A's?
Yeah, how about A's today? Wow. Can you say meltdown? Wow. Man, they have fallen off the map. Now I think they're gonna get that wild card though. I think they're just good as have it. I'd have to check the standings just to double check that. But I'll ask you this: was it too much to bargain for getting rid of your best player for about 3 months of a first tier pitcher like John Lester? Was that worth it?
Well, it's easy to say that it wasn't worth it now. But I'll tell you, when I heard on the radio that John Lester got sent to Oakland, I was shocked at who they got back. My first thought was, Oakland must have, a top 10 AAA pitcher, and maybe I didn't even think they'd get some the roster, and then they got Cespedes.
Shocking to me. I was like, first of all, it may have been too much of a good thing. They already had that trade for Jeff Shamarja, who was the Cubs' best pitcher easily, and their ace. And I said, that's great. I mean, they're going to be in good shape. I just think they just took it a step too far. And you even said it. If we go back to my podcast, like about the time it happened, I think we could find me saying I wasn't sure. I was very skeptical of that trade because I'm like, but Cespedes is such a big part of their lineup. It's not like you traded some guy that was like, meat of the order, but kind of like the 3rd or 5th or whatever. You traded the best guy. That's their best hitter. he's the one that makes things happen. He's single-handedly responsible for wins sometimes. I was very surprised to see Cespedes go, even for a guy as great as Lester, because in both situations, I am pretty sure that they're not going to sign the guy into next year. Like, I don't think Lester stays with Oakland. Do you?
No, because I think what came out afterwards was one of the reasons that Cespedes was traded was because they weren't going to re-sign him. Like, I think he was making 11 or 12, and I think he's arbitration, or he's got one more year left. They were thinking long-term with him, like they weren't going to give him a huge deal. So you know they're not going to give the huge deal to Lester.
Exactly. So I'm thinking, if the person you have is gone either way at the end of the year, and you're rolling, why are you getting rid of your best hitter? Like, you know he's gone, fine, but Lester's gone too. I'm like, I just think you would have been better off taking your chances with the rotation that they had. It's not like Samardzija is just some middle of the road guy. He is a great pitcher. He didn't pitch so well when he came over initially, but I still stand by that fact. I thought I saw him pitch, and I know it's the Cubs. I know it's the NL Central, but that guy was good. I remember just how good he was. Good stats and everything. And I was excited when they traded him. Like, all right, he's going to go to a contender now. Well, they're going to contend, but I don't think their ceiling's going to be very high for the playoffs. I mean, where are they going to get the runs? That's my thing. Since the trade, they can barely score. They scored last night, but they can barely score for the most part. So I'm just looking for answers with the Oakland A's right now. I think they're going to get they have like a magic number of 2 to clinch a wild card berth. I think they'll get it. And it looks to me like Kansas City's probably going to get it too, unless they collapse. Both teams have 86 wins right now. So what do you think about...
That's pretty sweet.
It's a good game, right? That'd be a good game. I think I will say this. I think Oakland probably would have the better pitcher in the game, no matter who it is. Like, I think, say, Lester versus James Shield or something. I mean, come on, really? Who do you think's better? But Kansas City, I think, has got more chemistry with their lineup. I think they've been involved in more close games, and they've won more of those close games from. Well, I don't know if that's true, but they certainly have won some good close games, and they've had nice late inning heroics. I think they're just inconsistent. I mean, it says here last 10 games they've gone 5-5. Yeah, that's what they are. I mean, some nights they're way on, and some nights they're not. It's just I haven't watched enough games to really get a real feel for them, but that's my impression of them. This is gonna be a good game though. Like, gun to your head, who wins that game? Kansas City or Oakland? And I don't have any idea where it's being played either. I'm just not sure yet. So we'll find out.
Yeah, I would say Oakland in that one.
Yeah, even as bad as things have gone for them lately, I'm picking Oakland. And again, when you go to the postseason, any playoffs, especially in baseball, it's ultimately going to get decided by who has the better pitching. It's happened so many times. Giants for 2 years, 2010 and 2012. It always turned out that they had the better rotation, the better starting pitching, and maybe in some cases the better bullpen. And they took that and timely hitting into a World Series. So as much as I love Kansas City, they're fun to watch. It's just great to see them back in the postseason at all. I like them more. I think their pitching's better. So I like the Oakland A's more. So they'll get that one, but then after that, I probably don't have much hope for them. Question: Baltimore Orioles. The thing with them has been that their pitching is not up to par, and they can out-hit teams really well. Great at hitting home runs, probably one of the best teams at hitting home runs anywhere in the majors. But that doesn't amount to a whole lot in the playoffs. Do you think that their pitching staff is going to have enough to get past the division series?
I do, because they have a good bullpen.
You see, I trust your judgment on that. You know the division way more than I do. You're most certainly well versed in AL East baseball. And see, that's what I was thinking. Do they have a better bullpen? So they have a better bullpen now?
Yeah, and they got the master. They got Buck Showalter.
That's not helping them, but I think I'll take that into consideration. But
Well, better than being sarcastic.
oh man, that's funny. Well, yeah, I mean, bullpens can definitely step up big time. It was 3 years ago when the Cardinals made some major adjustments at the trade deadline and got a revamped bullpen, which was a huge, huge factor in their run to a World Series title. So a bullpen makes a big difference in the postseason if it is solid. And they do have a decent closer. I'm trying to figure out who it was, though. I don't have it on me, but do you remember? I used to know this.
I do not.
I'll get that just in like 2 seconds. Baltimore Orioles closer. This shows you how much I am tuned into the American League. Is it Tommy Hunter? That's it. Or no. This guy named Zach Britton. Is that right? Hang on, I'll get this. I'm gonna look at the depth chart, get this thing figured out for real. Okay. So, bullpen. Here we go. In the bullpen, yeah, it's Zach Britton, and I am not familiar with him at all. So we are going to learn a few things about this guy in the postseason. Junk Band, you ready?
Oh, yeah.
I love it. Okay. And so it is time for random questions. It is 8:50. If you have a question for us at Ditcow, tweet your random question to us, and we will answer them in order in the next 5 or 10 minutes or so. So we look forward to hearing from you. We're also at blogtalkradio.com/DaveInTheCity if you want to chat with us. blogtalkradio.com/DaveInTheCity if you have a random question for the two of us tonight. So you like the Orioles, you like the A's, and I think the Angels will be interesting, but again, not sure about the pitching, but we'll find out what they have to bring in the postseason. So we'll see. Okay, so let me ask you this: let's go switch back to the National League. The Nationals, the East favorite team, they won the division pretty convincingly, I believe, and they too have a very good rotation. Steven Strasburg and Gio Gonzalez. I mean, can't really ask for much more. I mean, we have much more. We have that much more team in LA, but this national team looks terrific. But is it all a paper tiger? Are these guys going to be executing the playoffs? How far can they go? Do you know about the national Yasiel Puig, speaking of him, just hit a home run to go ahead in the Dodger game at the Giants. I just saw it right now on TV. They're simulcasting the last 6 games on Channel 56 here in LA. He crushed that ball, Junkie. It was way gone. Oh my goodness, what a moment. 2-1 Dodgers. If they win, they clinch the division. This is big news. Wow. Oh, this is exciting. This is exciting. So anyway, I was saying, like, we should definitely not sleep on the Cardinals. Because number one, they went to the third last year, and they have a lot of the same guys, except they did trade Al Craig for John. You're not that. I'm still shaking my head on that one, buddy, for St. Louis. Unbelievable. But why do you think everybody quit on St. Louis so quickly? Is it just because they're not as flashy as other teams? Is the reason why they haven't really been considered as World Series contenders, the same as Nationals, Dodgers, or Angels, and those teams?
Yeah, it's probably part of that they don't have a big kind of fancy name guy, or I don't know. But it seems like the Cardinals are always under the radar, even when they had Pujols, even it always kind of seems that they get kind of lost out there in the Midwest, around the coasts. But yeah, they're absolutely terrific, almost every year.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think their 1-2 is as good as a 1-2 as you can get, other than only a few teams can beat.
And it sounds silly. But it's always been that way.
Yeah.
If you want to go historically, they always kind of get lost. People, especially like the media and that kind of stuff, everyone gravitates toward the coast. Los Angeles and New York and Boston. The Cardinals always kind of seem to get lost in the shuffle. Not to go on too much of a tangent, but Dave, if Stan Musial played on one of the coasts, he'd be the greatest ball player of all time. If you actually look at that man's career, I mean, obviously people think he's one of the great players, but if he was on the Yankees, holy crap! If you think back, he played 22 years, and it was kind of, he was thought of as a terrific ball player, but not treated like Mickey Mantle. And if you look at them side by side, it's not even close.
That's a very good point. I think Stan Musial, we always regard him as one of the greats, but he doesn't have the same level of gravitas, like his name, as Babe Ruth or Gehrig, or I don't want to say Gehrig, but Babe Ruth and say, I guess we'll use Mickey Mantle or Willie Mays and all those guys. And
I was just thinking of players. Yeah, I mean, he played. He started in like 41, so it was a little before. He was ending when Mays was starting in there, and those kind of guys. But I mean, like something like 3,600 hits and all the power numbers. He was absolutely terrific.
Absolutely. And I know you're a huge fan.
I'm pretty sure he lost time in the Navy. I'm not exactly sure about that.
There, Joe DiMaggio too. So it's really inevitable in those days. Like, there was a different time, but absolutely. I mean, you can only imagine how much bigger of a name a guy like that would be if he played in New York or in modern times in L.A., even San Francisco. I mean, it's just maybe not San Francisco so much from baseball. I always find it funny that San Francisco's not a bigger deal in MLB as they are. I really thought that they were like right up there. Dodgers, Cubs, Cardinals, and then like you said, the Cardinals are not even as big a name. Like, do you think that Stan Musial would have had a bigger career if he played in Chicago with the Cubs? What do you think?
Maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit, but the point remains. There is the Midwest. You're right. All the time, sports get overlooked. All these guys. As much as I think the Dodgers are a favorite, as much as I love that team, I think the Cardinals are good enough to at least have a couple wins in that series, and they could do more if all the cards get played right. So Well, Junkman, I'll leave you with that. I think we're out of time tonight. It's exciting though. Just final thoughts. Like, who do you want to advance in these playoffs? Like, do you have any favorites?
No.
No, not really.
To see a certain team now.
90 seconds.
Okay.
Kind of enjoy it.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be. It just looks to me like it looks like it's gonna be a really tight, very exciting postseason this year. We could see some 7-game series. Like that's how good I think it's gonna be. Okay, great. Well, that's all the time we've got. Junkie, I really want to thank you for coming on tonight. I appreciate you being here as always. Have a great weekend and take it easy, my friend. We'll keep in touch.
60 seconds.
You got it, man.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. All right, Kevin on the Cape with some fantastic baseball talk, and that's our program tonight. Thanks to everyone who joined us tonight. Big show. We had Andrew Jacobson at the top of the hour, at the top of the program. Say hello to Ottis, Andy in Seattle, and Kevin on the Cape to round us out in hour 2. I'm Dave Medina. This has been a lot of fun. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Enjoy the games from college and pros. We'll see you next time.